During meals, he always wore noise-canceling headphones to block out his coworkers' mean comments about him. But some people are just plain awful. Fúsi stopped fighting back and turned to leave work. He quietly picked up his headphones and walked away. Every time he came to the restaurant, the owner would put away the utensils across from him, because he was always alone. Fúsi was in his 40s, somewhat balding, and weighed over 200 pounds. He worked at the airport hauling luggage, because he was too shy. He was still single. Looking at him, you could see that loneliness can take physical form. Fúsi would always go to the riverbank alone. He'd turn on his radio and call the DJ to request songs. He always listened to heavy metal music. That day, he made a big decision and bought a remote control car he'd wanted for a long time. In the hallway on his way home, a little girl asked him who it was for. Fúsi felt embarrassed and didn't know how to answer. Luckily, the girl's father came up and saved Fúsi from the awkward moment. Taking advantage of the snowy weather when fewer people were around, he went outside. In the wind and snow, he let his true nature run free. He could repair and modify things himself. He was also talented at cooking and could fix cars too. You could say he was a skilled introvert. Besides remote control racing cars, Fúsi had an even cooler toy, a large strategy board game. Sometimes he'd go to a friend's house to play around. That day, his supervisor found Fúsi and asked if he was being bullied by coworkers, maybe out of kindness, or maybe to save face. Fúsi didn't admit to his coworkers' behavior. Instead, he said it was just harmless joking around. On his birthday, Fúsi received a cake from his mother. His mother's boyfriend gave him a hat and a gift certificate for dance classes. He hoped Fúsi could make new friends there. The dance was supposed to have a cowboy theme, but his mother dressed him in a suit. Fúsi gathered his courage and went to the class, but wearing a suit made him look even more out of place than he already was. He sadly turned around and went back to his car. He started the engine, and soft music played on the radio. Fúsi's mood began to calm down, but his favorite was still heavy metal music. He requested a song like always. Snowflakes drifted down onto Fúsi's car window as a blizzard approached. The dancers all rushed to get home. A woman walked straight toward Fúsi, hoping he could give her a ride. Fúsi didn't say a word during the drive, making the woman think he might be a creep. Only then did he explain what had happened. The woman promised she'd look out for him at the dance hall next week. After work that day, he ran into the little girl from downstairs again. She had lost her keys. Fúsi kindly brought her to his home and prepared milk and food for her. The only downside was that all the toys there were for boys. The girl's father picked her up after work, but looking at this giant of a man, he didn't even say thank you. The next day, the girl came over uninvited. Fúsi had become the girl's friend. She casually mentioned that her father thought he was weird. Fúsi felt a bit sad, but thankfully the girl didn't think so. His co-workers would pick on him from time to time. Fúsi never showered at work, maybe because he didn't want others to see his size. But his co-workers used this as an excuse to cause trouble. They dragged him into the shower and turned on the water, soaking him. Fúsi just quietly endured this humiliation, but none of this ever really affected him. Fúsi came to the dance class and clumsily learned the steps. Looking at this honest, simple guy, Sophie smiled from the heart. When class ended, Sophie didn't want to go home. Fúsi took her to the restaurant where he usually ate. This time, he wasn't alone. The owner couldn't help but look twice. After dinner, he brought Sophie to the riverbank. Fúsi asked her what kind of music she liked so he could request it for her. Surprisingly, Sophie requested a soft, emotional song. This was completely different from his usual taste. Fúsi still went outside the car to call the radio host. The host teased him on the radio about how things were going with the woman in his car. Fúsi returned to the car, and in this moment, the song wasn't bad either. After the date ended, he dropped Sophie off at her front door. Sophie invited him in for tea, but this clueless guy said he didn't like tea. The opportunity was right in front of him, but he let it slip away. Fúsi drove off to go home, but after thinking about it, he suddenly backed up and rang Sophie's doorbell. They chatted on and off, and the atmosphere was a bit awkward but manageable. Learning that Fúsi worked at the airport, Sophie envied his staff travel privileges to go abroad, but in all these years, he had never taken a single flight. Even though nothing happened, for Fúsi it felt like a huge victory. After work that day, his co-worker bothered him again. This time it was real trouble. He wanted Fúsi to help fix his car. Even though the guy always picked on him, Fúsi didn't hold grudges and fixed the car anyway. The co-worker felt guilty and apologized to him, but Fúsi just casually said it was no big deal. He enthusiastically invited Fúsi to a weekend party, really hoping he'd come. Fúsi said he'd think about it. The next day, he went to the airport service desk and got 2 staff tickets. He went to the flower shop to find Sophie, but learned she'd been fired. Fúsi waited outside Sophie's house. She had taken a new job collecting garbage, and her silhouette was filled with sadness. Fúsi rang the doorbell, and Sophie was surprised to see him when she opened the door. He felt sorry for what happened to Sophie, but before he could finish speaking, the dejected Sophie shut him out. After being coldly rejected, Fúsi was about to turn and leave, but then he remembered what his friend had once told him. Fúsi timidly rang the doorbell again. After explaining why he was there, Sophie said she just thought Fúsi was a good man. Nothing more. She said sorry. Fúsi's evasive look couldn't help but make people feel pity for him. Fúsi still decided to go to his co-worker's party, but when a woman showed up, things took a turn for the worse. His co-worker's well-meaning actions crossed Fúsi's boundaries. He wanted to leave, but his co-worker forcibly dragged him into a room. This time, Fúsi wouldn't let them do whatever they wanted anymore. After going through all this, Fúsi seemed to get sick. His mother called in sick for him, and he wanted to go out for some fresh air. The girl from downstairs wanted to come with him. He took the girl to the riverbank, but after a while, she wanted to go home, but the police were already waiting at the door. He had just kindly taken the girl out to play, but the girl's father panicked and called the police, even cursing Fúsi as a pervert. Fúsi could only humbly say he was sorry as the police took him away. Of course, Fúsi hadn't done anything wrong, so he was released quickly, but he never saw Sophie at dance class again. The girl from downstairs had found a friend. The boy saw Fúsi's remote control car and wanted to come in and play. The girl could only watch from far away. When the boy's mother saw her son with the girl, she immediately told him to stay away from Fúsi. Discrimination is a terrible thing that can hurt good people. Fúsi barged into Sophie's house. Dirty dishes were piled up in the sink, and the TV was just left on. Sophie was hiding in the bathroom and wouldn't come out. She was suffering from depression. Sophie wanted to make him leave, but Fúsi chose to stay and spent the night there. The next day, he prepared breakfast for Sophie and cleaned up the house. He went to work to ask his boss for time off. He fixed the broken glass and made lunch for Sophie, but what she cared more about was her job. Fúsi then rushed to the waste management center. The supervisor's message was simple: as long as someone could take over, the job would be kept open. So Fúsi started sorting garbage. His new co-workers talked about him constantly, but unlike before, they planned to invite this new guy to watch a game at the bar. Fúsi prepared lots of flowers. He opened Sophie's closed door, and Sophie threw herself into Fúsi's arms. Under his careful and devoted care, Sophie gradually came out of her dark period. They played music and painted over the walls of the past. Sophie brought him to a storefront, dreaming of opening a flower shop there. Fúsi's work was about to end. His co-workers found a coconut tree in the garbage and gave it to him as a farewell gift, even though it was trash. To him it was priceless friendship. This is what co-workers should be like. When he got home to Sophie's house after work, she rushed into Fúsi's arms. Just like that, he was no longer single. Sophie even asked him to move in with her. Fúsi didn't expect their relationship to develop so quickly. He accepted Sophie's idea but wanted to wait for the right time because he couldn't abandon his mother. Sophie just walked away. Fúsi chased after her and called her back, promising Sophie he'd move in right away. Fúsi took apart his strategy board game and wanted to give all his large toys to the girl downstairs. The girl wasn't home, so her father accepted the toys for her. Before Fúsi left, he apologized for what had happened before. Fúsi just said it was nothing. His friend helped him move his things over, but Sophie looked anxious and uneasy, so Fúsi moved everything back again. Before leaving, he looked at Sophie one last time. Life seemed to have changed, but actually nothing had changed at all. He sat in his car, watching people rushing to catch their flights. Fúsi seemed to think of something. He bought the house where Sophie had once dreamed of opening a shop. He planned to renovate it with his friend. After installing the last piece of glass, Fúsi left the place satisfied. He slipped the keys into Sophie's house and gently closed the mailbox. He returned to the airport, but this time he stood on the jetway and took the first step of his life. The airplane engines roared, and Fúsi finally found his direction.